What's up?
How are you, man?
Huh?
There was ever a time in your career when you were playing, or maybe later in your career, you looked up some of those names up there, and the thought occurred to you that your name might be up there with
You know what? Honestly, not really. I always looked up there, and you always see these names. And the one thing you knew, they had to do something right. They had to do something right. They had to do something special. They had to be good people. Then they just happened to be able to play some football. And but playing my position, you're looking up there, you're gonna get knocked out. So I wasn't looking up too. I wasn't looking up too often. I know what I guess I'm like a kind of like an old mule down south. I'm a plower, man. I put my head down, I go to work, and I look up when they tell me to stop. And so it took me 14 years before I stopped, and then I looked up. And I noticed I did some decent stuff. It's pretty good.
What's the, if someone could say something about you, what is the ultimate compliment? If you were paid a compliment to someone, what is the, play hard, show up, respect teammates, put up points? What's the best thing someone could say about Rod Smith that would make you feel the grace coming from teammates, coaches, whatever?
It would depend on the person. It would honestly it would depend on the person. If it was somebody I worked with, I want them to say that he worked very, very hard. He showed up every day, and he gave us everything he had. That's what I would want them to say. If it's any one of the people over here, from the guy who cut the grass, I respected him, and I respected what he did because I knew what he did was important to me. All the way from Sacco and his whole staff on down, I wanted those people to respect me as a man first, and that I would come to work and work hard. From a fan standpoint, that's all they got to see. They got to see Sunday. They didn't get to see the person. So from a standpoint, from their perspective, I would always tell my kids is that, people say how I work, because that's all they saw was the work. They never saw the behind the scenes stuff. And they were always impressed with how I went out there and played, how I played, not what I did, but how I did it. And so from that perspective, I love hearing that, And when my son was younger, when, all my kids were younger, they would, hey, man, I just love how your dad played. They never said whether we won or lost. They just cared how I would approach the game. And that was very important to me. And I have a saying, and I've had it for a few years, and of course I stole it from somebody else, but how you do anything is how you do everything. You take that and you run with it. You can't be one way over here and then a totally different way over here, because eventually when those two collide, there's going to be some problems. And so it makes life a lot easier if you just do things one way all the time. That way you're not all in this turmoil of changing and have to go through these different hoops.
If you didn't make every single workout and do all that stuff, would you still be sitting here? Would you still be the player?
No, but you got to think about it. That's the mentality you had to have in the beginning. See, I had that mentality when I was broke. I had that mentality when I was hungry. I had that mentality when I was in college. I had that mentality when I was in the projects when I was 12 years old. I had the same mentality. So I didn't have to change my whole life. And people don't realize, well, you make it sound so easy. It was. If you set some standards early on in your life and you live by those standards because you believe in them, the rest of the stuff just fall in place. The rest of the stuff just fall in place. I don't think I've ever had a coach who didn't like me, because I respected authority. I knew who was in charge. And I also knew in order for me to be able to get on the field, I'm going to have to perform at a certain level. So I had to do things away from the field to make sure I could perform. And that's not the football field, but in the classroom and other places. I always had to do the same thing. So it made my life easier, and hopefully it's an example for some other folks who are looking to turn the corner for their life. You got to get some standards that people know you're going to be there and you're going to show up, and they know exactly what you're going to give them.
You technically, I think, have only been retired 4 years because you didn't play that 07.
I got paid though. Nah, it's a good move, huh? Thanks, Coach Shanahan. Appreciate that.
Well, was that difficult? Did that stick in your craw a little bit? How it came to an end?
You know what? Honestly, I got a year to get my mind and heart together that I knew I wasn't going to play the game anymore. I knew it. I mean, I still remember see, there was a lot of stuff going on that I knew that y'all didn't know. I was already prepared for the fact that I remember us playing our last game. I remember the suit that I wore And I remember telling my kids, this is my last day as a Denver Bronco. And they're like, well, Dad, the season ended, next year. I knew. And I told them, they probably won't even remember it. But I told them, hey, come in the locker room, man, get you a lot of autographs and things like this, because I knew my time
That
there.
was 07?
Yeah.
07, okay.
Yeah, I knew my time there was done. I knew it in my heart, because I knew if I would have went back out there and approached the game a different way, I wouldn't have got to play the game with my heart. I'd have been probably playing for a check, and I don't do that. And
how's your hip now? Is it everything?
that's a whole nother legal issue. It's okay. Honestly, it's not great. It's really not. You got a piece of metal in your body that got recalled. It's kind of tough, So I got metal in my body that got recalled. People say, how you get body parts recalled? I said, well, it happened to me. And so it's something I got to deal with, here pretty soon, actually, to figure that whole thing out. But for the most part, I remember waking up from the first surgery, because remember I had 2, and I told him when I go under, don't do a microfracture surgery. And if you have to do a microfracture surgery, I knew my career was over to me. I've never seen anybody come back from it and actually excel at their position. I just haven't, especially not in this particular market. And so when he woke up, he said he did it a little bit. And maybe I said it in my mind that my days were numbered, because I thought it. Because what you think about, you come about. So I just knew that wasn't going to be good. And I couldn't even walk I was on crutches for 10 weeks after that. And it just was very difficult. And I said, I'm not going to go out here and just, I'm going to try to go back out there because I love the game. And I knew in my heart I wanted to play. But physically I couldn't play. Not at the level I have to play at in order to be considered a football teammate, to give them what they deserve as a teammate. And so I had the second surgery. I was on crutches 10 days, so it felt a lot better. But honestly, I had already had a resolve in my mind that it was done.
Rod, was the trade-off worth it? The hip injury, whatever else may ail you, other teammates you played with go through stuff, there's lawsuits against the league. Was the trade-off worth it when you see your name Sunday going up in the Ring of Fame and maybe Hall of Fame talk?
You know what? If my name didn't go up there, it was worth it. And one thing I can say, actually I had a great conversation with Alfred Williams the other day. And it was awesome to just, because every person I ever played with, I don't care what kind of role they played on our team. From a guy who's a special teams guy, because I was that guy. A guy who's on the practice squad, I was that guy. I did everything but cut the grass around here. I don't think Ross wouldn't let me back in the day. I tried to cut the grass, so I can say I did everything in this organization to try to keep a job. But it really has nothing to do with whether my name go up in lights or not. The trade-off is the lifestyle I have now is completely different because of those sacrifices. Those are some things you're going to have to sacrifice. And my kids' life is different. My grandkids' life is totally different because somebody had to make that sacrifice, and it was me. And I wouldn't trade it for nothing. I really wouldn't, because I got to live my dream, man. I got to be. I played in the projects in Ozan, back when it was Ozan courts. I played football, and I played at a certain level. And I got to do it on the big stage with uniforms and a camera. And I wouldn't trade that for nothing.
Seeing Peyton Manning out there, is a part of you wants to go out there and catch more passes?
No. You know what? It's a thing of beauty to watch. I was just standing out there, and Pat came out there, and I watched him throw this kind of deep seam route to Stokely a few minutes ago, and just how the ball. I'm in the perfect position because I'm watching this ball when it leaves his hand, and I'm watching it curve and it fall right, just lay it in his hand, and I get the flashbacks from when John and Greasy and all the guys I played with used to do it to me, and so I totally get to see the game now in slow motion, and I'm rooting for these guys, this crew of guys, to take on, honestly, certain standards that I helped create around here. I want the receivers to have a certain standard that Eddie Mack and myself and Justin Armour and all the guys I played with, we set a standard is why we won, and I want those guys to have that same standard. They don't have to say our name, but I want them to say, well, when this guy was wearing the Bronco uniform, he worked like this, so we got to do the same because they won, and that's what matters.
Are you more like Demaryius or Decker? What do you think about those two, Demaryius?
Neither one of them. They're both rich, early in the game. Demaryius is huge. I didn't have that. And Decker is, he doesn't remind me of Ed. People try to say he reminds me of Ed. He's not. He's a totally different player. I watch those guys and I see a lot of us, and what I mean is just the approach. That's what I like. Their approach to the game because I talked to them last year. I went into the receiver room and talked to those guys, and they were frustrated and they were hurt. And they was catching 2 balls thrown to them a game, and they were frustrated. And I said, guys, that part you don't get to control. You control when you come out the huddle and how you run your route. You control that. You control blocking in the running game. And I said, I know it sucks. To be honest with you, it sucks to be a receiver and not knowing if you're going to get the ball ever. They never knew. And I said, but what makes you a champion is when you go out there thinking it's coming to you anyway. And you go out there and go to work. And you know what? They might not remember the conversation, but honestly, right after that, they played the Vikings. They end up winning. Demaryius ended up catching 4 or 5 passes that game. I said, see, you're frustrated less than 72 hours ago. Simple conversation of the approach of how you go into the games. Whether it helped him or not, I don't know, but his approach seemed different from that day forward. And you see these guys out here now, both of them, as well as with Stokely and Matt. Really like Matt, young guy just out there hustling, getting it done. Just knowing you can drop some knowledge because you did it, and that makes me feel good knowing that those guys have that approach.
Rod, you talked about DT early on. People were all over with you because you had to pay your dues, free agent, practice squad. Do you think that makes Sunday more special for you because of what you had to go through to get to where you got to?
In this business, you still got to perform. And my thing is I didn't, get my name called on draft day. I'm still mad about that, by the way. I carried grudges a long time. I'm just letting you know, this is just the truth. I mean, some people weren't too smart because they measure all this other stuff and they don't measure a person's heart because they don't have a machine for that. And the Broncos gave me a chance. That's all I cared about. The Broncos gave me a chance, and I wasn't going to let the chance go by. And it happens in life every day. I run across people every single day. I was with some young kids yesterday, about 200 kids over there at the Boys and Girls Club, and I'm watching these kids, and you can tell somebody's not spitting positive things into their life because we're doing these obstacle courses, and hey man, you gonna get it? No, well, and to me that's somebody's not throwing positive into them and telling them they can be a winner and they can get it done and telling them the end before it even starts, and so for me, I saw the end of my career when I started because it was going to end the same way it did in college. It was going to end the same way it did in high school. Because I knew I was going to give them everything I had, and it's always going to come out the way I want. You just need the opportunity, and I was given the opportunity, and I didn't waste it. I didn't squander a day, and I think my book is still in the weight room over there. My workout book. 600 plus straight workouts, voluntary workouts. I mean, that means you don't have to come, but in my mind, I didn't make it optional. It was mandatory. I don't care how much money a person offered me during my career. I got offered, especially as we started winning Super Bowls and you make Pro Bowl, people want a piece of you, you want this autograph session. They've offered me tens of thousands of dollars to go here for this week and do this, and that. And because of the $100 for offseason, I would turn it down. And people thought I was crazy. I said, dude, this $100 is going to make me millions. That $10,000 is going to make me 10,000. That's it. So that was my approach. And I even today and what I do now, I tell people to quit making success optional. Quit thinking it's optional. It's not optional. It's mandatory. You make it mandatory, your body, your whole physiology, the universe starts aligning itself to give you the things you need for you to succeed. Whatever success is for you. It doesn't have to be millions of dollars. It doesn't have to be all the cars and the fancy stuff, but at least give you some options because that's all we want is options. Every last one of you guys want options. You want options. And so to me, and I guess I'm living proof of that, I wanted to make sure that these options were mandatory. They wasn't, I wanted to make sure I had choices in my life. And I wanted to be the example. Your environment has a lot to do with what you actually end up becoming. And my environment was not good. That's why I could change my environment in a split second. I could just close my eyes and I could go somewhere else. And I lived in those pictures in my mind, and I dreamed all the time. And I never stopped going for those dreams. And this organization, these people here, they helped me get that. They gave me the chance to manifest what I saw. I didn't know how it was going to come about. I didn't really care how. I just knew it was going to be legal, it was going to be ethical, and I was going to have to go out there and get it done. So it's been good.
The clip that is usually associated with your career is the catch you made against where you burned Eugene Robinson in the Super Bowl, but you've always said the first catch is the one. Is that because of the journey it took to get to won versus the journey to the Super Bowl catch?
You know what? Well, when you think about it, like I say, any journey starts with one step. That was my first step, you know. And fact of having your first catch be a game-winning touchdown with no time on the clock. I mean, I don't know too many people whose first catch probably been that more dramatic. Honestly, y'all do stats all day. Y'all sitting around here doing nothing anyway. Get on Google and find out what anybody else's first play or their first pass or something has been.
And it was against Darryl Green.
Yeah, it was against a Hall of Famer. So he's a Hall of Famer now. But my thing was that. Let me tell you why it was special to me. Why it's the most important to me. We won. That's all I cared about. Oh, I had a horrible day at the office, but for a split second, I was good enough for us to win. Special teams wise, Richard Smith, man, told me a new one after that game. But we won. So at the end of the day, it doesn't matter if you win or lose. That's all I counted. I'm like a quarterback. I kept my stats like that. I kept my stats with wins and losses. Y'all don't keep up with who wins and loses as far as other than the quarterback. That's all I kept up with. That's all I cared about. We won, and I knew I can go and fix those other things because if we didn't win, according to my play on the field and special teams, I could have got fired. See, I had that pressure on me for 14 years that if I didn't do it today, they was going to fire me. I promise you. I snuck up. I say this. Some of you guys have heard this. I know Gary's heard it a lot. I would sneak up to my locker every day for 14 years. I would sneak up on my locker. And, you know, some days a little bit more relaxed than other days, you know. But I would sneak up on my locker and just pray that my name was still there. And I said, okay, I got one more day. I got one more day to keep my job. I got one more day. I get to put these cleats on for one more day so they can say, hey, listen, this guy deserves to be around here for one more day. And that day, if we lose that game, they're looking to move people around. That's just the way I believe. That's what kept me with my head down working. If I get caught up in all the other stuff around me, man, I'm done. And that's what you'll see people doing that in their careers is very short because they're rubbernecking and worry about what the other guy's doing instead of focusing on what they can do and how can they get better today so they can keep their job for tomorrow. They worry about contract to contract or year to year or game to game. No, mine was second to second because that's all I could control was those seconds in the moment I was in. And it worked for me. You know, it's a way of tricking your mind, your body, your physiology to do what you really need to do, which is stay on track. And all the other things I couldn't control anyway, so why worry about it?
It sounds like the impact and the meaning of this honor has sunk in. Do you think it will sink in some more on Sunday when there's a whole stadium?
And it's sinking in some more when 60 people come to my freaking house this weekend. Honestly, it's crazy, but I can't wait for it to be over because, you know, you're getting pulled in all these different directions. You're trying to honor everybody with requests for media stuff, and you can't, you know, in a way you can't. Plus, I still got, you know, trying to be, you know, hanging out with my grandson yesterday was a great thing. Me and my grandson just out by the pool, and he's ripping and running. We're throwing footballs, and he threw it in the pool. I'm like, dude, I'm not going to get that. And he's like, ball? I'm like, no, dude, I'm not going to get the ball. You threw it right in the middle. Pretty good arm, right? And so I had to go find another one so we can play over this way. But, you know, you know, having, I was clicked on Facebook today, and my sister puts about a book about me on there, and it was pretty cool. So it is sinking in, and it's a big deal. It's a big deal for my family. So.
What means more to you, the records or having your name in that ring of fame?
Winning. That's all it means. That's all that matters to me. It's winning. I think, according to the last stat I kept of the starting receivers, I think I had the highest winning percentage. That's what matters. That's what matters. You know, because if you're on the field and you're actually putting in work, you had a hand in y'all winning the game. And that's just the way I looked at it. And I think Pat gave me that stat a while back. And Sacco has put up some great stuff of comparing me to a lot of the greats that ever played the game. And I appreciate that stuff, but all I care about was winning. The Ring of Fame, to me, is just more of it's a kind of a resting place, I guess, for my career here. And just like all the other guys up there, that means I did something right. I was actually with BT the other day, and being BT was sitting around, you know, just kind of, you know, and I was kind of, you know, because I really sit down with BT, but I never really dug into him when he was playing. And so we was talking about that a little bit, and I said, BT, you know, if you'd have played against me, you wouldn't be in the Ring of Fame. He told me the same thing. And I said, he said, you know, if I had shut you down, right? And I said, well, neither one of us would be up there because it'd have been a battle, right? And it's just good now because you are a part of history in this organization, and so I get to share some of that history with the people who created it. And so and it makes you feel good. I mean, the guys that are there, there's only, 22? There's only 22 there out of the tens of thousands of people that have ever came through here. So you did something right. I mean, just you did something right, and you impressed enough people that they said, hey, this guy needs to be up here. And so for me, a lot of people go with me, and that's the key. Every teammate I ever played with, my coach from high school, junior high, Pop Warner flag football, they all go. You know, they just put one name up there, but every last one of those people, they go. And they can say we went into the Ring of Fame, not he went into the Ring of Fame. And for me, that to me is what makes it special.
Do you deserve to go in the Hall of Fame?
Huh?
Next, what about the Hall of Fame?
What about it? Do I get to vote?
Do
I get to pick? Y'all get to vote? Who in here gets to vote? You? I've always been nice to him. I'm good. Now, Gary, on the other hand, me and Rod.
Don't worry.
Oh, okay, cool. I can say whatever I want to give.
So what's your case to Jeff and all the other guys who are going to vote?
You know what? My thing is this. What are you basing the criteria off of? You can't have a criteria that wavers depending on how you feel. If you have a certain criteria, you stick to your criteria. And some of the guys that are there, I can promise you this, my numbers are better than some of the guys that were there. I know we played in a different era, but at the same time, I think winning has something to do with it. I think your character off the field should have something to do with it because it's an elite group. And at the same time, I can just say this. This is what I always say. I did everything I could possibly do, and I don't get to vote. And if you don't think it's good enough, tell me why. Give me some stats or some reasons why you don't think so, and then we can have that discussion. Because I can promise you that there's some guys that are there, and not to knock anybody there because they deserve to be there, that my numbers are comparable to every last one of them, you know. And there's some guys who are not in there that their numbers are very comparable too. So you just got to respect the process. You don't, like I say, you don't get to vote. I don't get to vote. I got to play. I got to go out there and live my dream, and somebody's going to say something one day, one way or another. And then you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to move on with my life the whole time. So I can't dwell on it. But I hope it happens. Oh, yeah, absolutely. And I never thought about it until I watched John Elway get inducted. And then I thought to myself, why not me? Why not? I worked just as hard. And I put in just as much time. And I put up the numbers. And you know what? We had the teams and a lot of teammates that will go in that place. They will be there. It's just a matter of time. They only put so many in at a time.
What does it mean to you to be involved with the organization now and be able to talk to guys and share your advice, wisdom, and so forth?
You know what? They say experience is the best teacher. I have a lot of experience in this locker room. This is the only one I ever was in the NFL. And so I think when those guys come in this locker room, they respect the fact that I have experience here, not somewhere else. You know, the coaches and all that stuff changed. The game is still exactly the same. The field is still 100 yards, you know, from end zone to end zone. So, and I think they respect it for the fact of the results. Because at the end of the day, you got to look at what a person actually did. You know, you can be in the league a long time and have no stats. There's some guys who've done that. I wish I figured out how to do that. But they've done that. But I have the numbers to prove, you know, that I actually know how to get it done with the group of people that I was kind of assigned to work with. And I think, especially with Demaryius and Decker and, you know, Stokely and I are very, very close still. And, you know, I think those guys respect what I did and how I did it. I still think it comes back to how, because they knew I wasn't a fan favorite. I wasn't one of these big name guys, and, you know, all the guys got all the fanfare and all the commercial deals and all that stuff, made all the money. I won. At the end of the day, I won. I went out there and put in the work with my group against your group. Backyard football with a camera is what I called it. And I knew all that's being even, we was going to win. because we're going to have more heart and we're going to play harder than everybody else. And I think they respect that, especially some of the guys, not the super young guys because they didn't see me play because I've been out of the league for a while now. But, like Demaryius and those guys who was just coming out of college when I was leaving the game, I think they still remember throwing it to me on PlayStation in their dorm room. And then to get to see me live and just steal a nugget or two, I think is a great thing for them. It's actually an advantage for them because I can tell them some things that are going to happen guaranteed no matter what they think.
So what is next for you? I know you're here a lot. Would you want to do stuff in an official capacity, coaching, business? What do you? What's next?
I'm not gonna lie. I love the Denver Broncos. I do. There's nothing I wouldn't do for this organization. Mr. Bolin called me a John or, Coach Fox. Any one of the guys. I mean, Coach McCoy and I have had some conversations. Just talking, and some players have called me. I mean, from an official capacity standpoint, I like what I do away from here. I really do. If you can do something through Skype or Facebook, something I can work from that. Time-wise, man, I just don't know if I could be able to give him, 15, 16, what it requires for on the field. So from a coaching aspect right now, it's probably not an option. Consultant, liaison, being able to help some guys who are dealing with some stuff in this particular area, I think I can definitely help them with that. I don't have any kind of official title or role. Only thing is I was a once player here, and I feel I've earned some respect here. And there's nothing I won't do to help them get the respect that we deserve as an organization back. That's in any capacity I can help with that, I'm definitely going to do. So, but I do love the consulting piece as far as being able to help with guys, because a lot of times what happens over there is not what the issues are. The issues are over here on the other side. It's sometimes in their home life and not being able to do the same thing in both places, and with all and they play at a time when it's a little bit different. And what I mean by that, everything they do instantly goes across the world in seconds. There was not so big on Twitter and Facebook at the beginning of my career, but there is like now the communication part is so diverse, and you can get yourself in trouble just as fast as you can get yourself famous. So you can be famous both ways because of that. And to me, some of those guys need to learn how to monitor that part of their life, because it really does, when you see things about you that come from around the world, it affects you. No matter what you see in here, it affects you. And you got to learn how to monitor that stuff to where it doesn't affect you over there, because then you're unemployed. And you only got a short window in this business. No matter how long the window is, it's short. And I think that's why you see some of the stuff happening with some of the guys, and not to bring them up like T.O. and Chad Johnson. I love the way those guys play football, but some days they would look down and they didn't see cleats. They saw wingtips and all this other stuff, this celebrity, this so-called reality lifestyle, and you forget to go back and remember, this is what got you on TV in the first place. Keep doing that. Keep doing that and maximize this thing, because you're only going to get to play so long. And I got that from Gary Kubiak. Gary Kubiak, one day we were out there, and he asked me how long I've been in the league, and I told him, and he said, Rod, listen, do everything you can to stay in this business as long as possible, because when it's over, it's over. And he said, you maximize this opportunity because it's short-lived. And this was a guy at the time, Gary had been in the industry 20-plus years from a player, coach standpoint. And he said, man, get as much money out of this game as possible as you can. Because he was telling me, he said, man, a lot of the guys that I played with over so many thousands of guys, and there's probably 10 to 20 guys that are doing well 5 years out of the game. And that really hit home for me that you got to do some things right over here, so that you can take care of the stuff over here that'll give you this longevity in this business, because it's real short-lived.
Anything else for Rod?
Real quick, you mentioned your grandson and your kids. Do you like them? Do you want them? And you talked about when other people pay you compliments. What do you want to hear from your kids, your grandkids? Do you want to hear them talk about your numbers and your records on the field?
My kids think I'm crazy, actually. So they do. They think I'm crazy. And Eminem, you sing this song, My Dad's Going Crazy, so I should play that for my kids all the time. It's kind of really crazy song, so y'all might not want to listen to it. But and I said, I am crazy. You know why? Because I got a dream, and I'm willing to do whatever it takes for my dream. I want my kids to understand that anything in life that you want, you can have. And it shouldn't be based off of other people. It's based off of you. It's based off what's inside of you. And most people have never determined a definite purpose or a why or the reason for going out there and being special and being great. And I want them to have a real life example every day. To them, I'm just dad, you know. And I got issues. I yell all the time. I said because I care. If I didn't care, I wouldn't say nothing to you. And but I want them to take hold and take heed to the fact that there was some serious amount of work that went in to give you a lifestyle that I don't want you to ever take for granted. I want you to learn to appreciate what you do get, not only in terms of material things, but in terms of words, information. That's the most important part, is them getting the right information and internalizing it so where they can go out there and do some great things themselves. That's all I care about. My purpose, one of my big purposes in life is I don't want my grandsons. I have 3 grandsons from 9 months, 9 months, 14 months, and a little bit over 2 years. My purpose on this planet right now is for them to never ever fill out a job application, ever. Just never. I just don't want it to happen. The Hiltons don't have to. Why should the Smiths have to? And it's a big task. I mean, it's not some small feat that I'm trying to do, but I know if I never said it and I don't approach it, it'll never get done. And I want them to, because you know how you see, I guarantee the Hiltons have a picture of their grandfather over their mantle in their house somewhere in some capacity. And because he left them something. And I want my kids and my grandkids and the great-grandkids who I won't ever meet, I want them to have a picture of me over their mantle saying, he started this whole thing and now we live the way we live. We're able to give the way we want to give. We're able to go where we want to go because somebody had to set the foundation. So I only have so much time on this thing we call Earth anyway. So when I leave it, for the ones who were the closest to me, who lived in the environment that I live in, I want them to say, well, he did this and it made me go out and do this. So, my kids are just the closest, and right now they really don't understand it. They really don't appreciate it. And as they go out now, 2 boys in college and my daughter's, with her 2 kids, now they're kind of having to grow up. Dad's kind of getting out of the way. They kind of got to take some of that information, not the material stuff. You got to take the information and you got to make it your own now. And so I want them, and I'll end it with this. I can only take it so far. You take it from there. You go from here forward. Don't start where I started, because I promise you, you won't like it. And you might not have the courage, the strength, the wisdom, or the faith to go through what I went through to get to a certain point. And so I really need them to go from there. And that's anybody, not just my kids. That's my friends, anybody that's around me more than 15 minutes. So all y'all qualify now. So hopefully y'all get a nugget or two that say, you know what, I think I'm gonna have to put a little shift in my life as well to impact some other people other than myself.
All right. Thank you, Rob.
Appreciate it.